They say prison changes a man. But the truth is, prison doesn't change you. It shows you who really stood by your side, and who threw you to the wolves. My name is Daniel Cooper. I'm 33 years old, and I've been living in this cold, gray box they call a prison cell for years now. Every night, when the silence gets too heavy and the iron bars feel like they're crushing my chest, I replay the moment that put me here. And the cruelest part? It wasn't an enemy who destroyed me. It was my own sister. The one I swore to protect. The one I trusted more than anyone else in this world. She framed me to save her own name. And because of her, I was sentenced to life. This is my story. Before prison, I wasn't just another man trying to survive. I was someone who believed in family above all else. I grew up in a small town, the kind of place where everyone knows your name. My father was strict, my mother fragile, and my younger sister, Emily, was the star of the family. She was smart, beautiful, admired by everyone. The kind of person people said was destined for something greater. And me. I was the older brother who always stood in her shadow, and I didn't mind. Because I loved her. From walking her to school when we were kids, to defending her from bullies, to making sure she never missed a ride home from college parties, I was her protector. Her shield. Her safe place. At least, that's what I thought. Looking back now, I should have seen the cracks forming. The little lies she told our parents, the secrets she asked me to keep, the way she used to twist stories when she was scared of getting caught. But I never questioned her. Because she was my sister. When she started dating a man my gut didn't trust, I stayed silent. When she skipped college classes and asked me to cover for her, I did it. When she cried on my shoulder, saying, "Daniel, you're the only one I can trust," I believed her. I didn't realize those words weren't a bond. They were chains. Chains that would drag me straight into hell. It was a rainy Friday night. I remember because the water dripped from my jacket as I opened the door to my parents' house. That's when I saw Emily. Her hands shaking, her face pale, her eyes wide with terror. There was blood on her shirt. My first instinct was to run to her, to ask what happened. She collapsed into my arms, sobbing, whispering words I could barely understand. Something about a fight, an accident, someone not breathing anymore. I froze. My heart stopped. And before I could even process, she looked at me with desperate eyes and said the words that would seal my fate. "Daniel, please. You have to help me. If anyone finds out, my life will be over. My name, my future, everything will be gone." In that moment, I didn't think. I didn't calculate. I didn't ask questions. I just saw my little sister, the girl I had sworn to protect since the day she was born, begging me for help. And so, I made the biggest mistake of my life. I cleaned the mess. I got rid of evidence. I told her to stay quiet. I told her I'd handle it. Because that's what brothers do, right? They take the fall. What I didn't know then was that this wasn't me protecting her. This was me digging my own grave. The police came sooner than I expected. Questions, handcuffs, flashing lights, it all blurred together. And when they asked Emily what happened, she looked at me. Just one look. I thought she was about to tell them the truth. But instead, she said my name. It was Daniel. My brother. He did it. Those words sliced deeper than any blade. I stood there, stunned, as my own sister, the person I'd give my life for, handed mine away to save herself. That night was the last time I saw my home. The last time I breathed free air without chains. The last time I looked at my family without feeling the crushing weight of betrayal. Because of Emily's words, I was branded a murderer. and the doors of prison slammed shut on me forever. But as I sit here now, staring at these cold walls, one thought keeps me alive. If my own sister could take my life from me, then someday, somehow, I'll take something back. And that is where my revenge began. When those iron bars slammed shut behind me for the first time, it felt like the world ended. The sound of steel locking in place still echoes in my chest, even today. They told me, "This is your home now." But prison is no home. It's a battlefield. And if you're not ready to fight, you don't survive. The first weeks inside were the hardest. The air reeked of sweat and hopelessness. Every night, screams echoed through the halls, some from rage, some from pain. Men paced their cells like caged animals. Others stared blankly at the wall, their minds already broken. And then, there were the predators. The ones who smelled weakness like blood in the water. I remember my first fight. A man twice my size cornered me in the cafeteria. His fists were like hammers, his eyes filled with hate. I didn't even want to fight. But in prison, if you don't stand up, you don't last. I walked away with a split lip and bruised ribs, but I walked away standing. That's when I realized, prison wasn't just about surviving days. It was about surviving people. But what hurt the most wasn't the fists or the fear. It was the nights. When the noise died down, when the lights went out, all that was left was silence. And in that silence came the memories. I'd see Emily's face. The night she cried in my arms, begging me to save her. The night she said my name to the police. The night she destroyed my life with a single lie. I'd lie awake on the hard mattress, staring at the cracks in the ceiling, whispering to myself, "Why, Emily? Why me?" Sometimes, I dreamt of her apologizing. Other times, I dreamt of her laughing while I rotted away. And each dream left me more broken than the last. It was 6 months into my sentence when everything changed. A fight broke out in the yard. At first, it was just 2 men yelling, then punches, then knives. The guards lost control. Chaos erupted. I remember the heat of bodies colliding, the screams of rage, the smell of blood filling the air. And somewhere in that madness, I found myself on the ground, a blade pressed to my throat. Time froze. My life flashed before my eyes. I thought, maybe this is it. Maybe this is how my story ends. But then, a voice. A hand. Another inmate pulled me up, pushed the attacker away, and shouted, "Not him. Not today." That man became the closest thing I had to an ally. And in his eyes, I saw something I had forgotten existed. Survival with purpose. After that riot, something inside me shifted. I stopped asking, "Why me?" and started asking, "What now?" The pain, the betrayal, the endless nights, they all shaped me. And deep within that darkness, a whisper began to grow louder. Not the kind of blind rage that burns out quickly, but a slow, calculated fire. The kind of fire that keeps a man alive when everything else tries to kill him. I told myself, if Emily could sacrifice me for her own name, then one day, I will make sure the world knows who she really is. So I adapted. I fought when I had to. I listened more than I spoke. And I learned, every move in prison teaches you something about survival, and about patience. Because revenge isn't rushed. Revenge is earned. And as I stared at the razor wire fence that caged me in, I made a silent promise to myself. The day I walk out of here, if that day ever comes, Emily will finally face the truth. Until then, I'll wait. And I'll plan. Time moves differently in prison. Days bleed into nights, and nights stretch into forever. But even in that endless cycle, I held on to one thing: my anger. Years passed. My hair turned gray at the edges. My body bore scars, from fights, from punishment, from survival. But my mind sharpened like a blade. I wasn't just waiting. I was preparing. It was almost 10 years into my sentence when the impossible happened. A lawyer came to see me. A man I had never met. He carried a folder, thick with papers, and said words I had stopped believing in. "Daniel, you're going home." At first, I thought it was a cruel joke. But then he explained, new evidence had surfaced. Evidence that proved I wasn't guilty. Evidence that should have saved me from the very beginning. The system that caged me finally admitted its mistake. But it wasn't the system that betrayed me. It was Emily. As I walked out of those gates, the sun felt like fire on my skin. Freedom should have felt sweet. But all I could taste was bitterness. I didn't go looking for celebration. I didn't go looking for friends. I went looking for Emily. She opened the door with surprise in her eyes. For a moment, she looked the same as the sister I once trusted, the one who cried on my shoulder. But then, I remembered the courtroom. I remembered her voice, steady and cold, as she said my name to the judge. I said nothing at first. Just stared. And in that silence, she broke. Her hands trembled. Her words cracked. "Daniel, I had no choice. I had to protect myself." I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was the same excuse she had always given. She wanted to save her own name, even if it meant destroying mine. So I told her the truth. I told her how prison had carved me into someone unrecognizable. I told her how every sleepless night, every scar, every broken dream, had her name etched into it. And then, I let her see the man she created. I didn't need fists. I didn't need violence. My revenge was showing her that I survived. That despite her betrayal, I walked out stronger. And that she would have to live forever with the truth. That she put her own brother in a cage for 10 years, and he still came back. That night, I sat alone in a small motel room. For the first time in years, the walls weren't iron, and the door wasn't locked. I thought about everything I had lost. My youth. My freedom. My family. And yet, I also thought about what I had gained. Strength. Patience. A will to live that no cage could ever destroy. I whispered to myself. I learned never to trust blindly. But I also learned that even in betrayal, I can rise again. Because revenge gave me power. But forgiveness gave me peace. So I chose to move forward. Not for Emily. Not for the world. But for me. This was my story. A story of betrayal, survival, and the strength to begin again. If you've ever been betrayed, if you've ever been broken, remember this. You are stronger than the people who tried to destroy you. Tell me in the comments, have you ever been hurt by someone you trusted the most? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories that reveal the truth hidden in pain. Because in the end, life is not about the scars you carry. It's about the strength to rise, even when the world tries to bury you.